The rain hammered against the tinted car windows like angry fingers, blurring the city lights of Lagos into trembling streaks of gold and red. In the back seat of the black SUV sat a girl with her hands folded tightly in her lap, her faded school uniform clinging damply to her thin body. Her name was Amara. She was 16, small for her age, with quiet eyes that had seen too much and lips that rarely remembered how to smile. She had a small nylon bag at her feet. Everything she owned fit into it: 2 worn dresses, an old Bible with pages falling out, and a photograph of a couple she barely remembered, her parents. At the front, the driver glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Relax, small madam," he said, forcing a smile. "You're going to a better life now. Big house, rich people, you'll be fine." Amara forced out a small, "Yes, aye, sir?" But her voice shook. Better life. People had been telling her that since she was 9, since that night her uncle had woken her in the dark and told her to pack her things because fire has taken your parents. She never saw the house again. She never saw bodies, just ashes, words, and a new life of being passed from one relative to another like unwanted luggage. Her last stop had been at her Aunt Nkem's one-room apartment in Mushin, and even there she was mostly a housegirl, not a niece. Now Aunt Nkem had sold her future for an envelope of money. Rich people, Aunt Nkem had whispered excitedly that morning while smoothing Amara's braids. Big man, oil money, you'll serve there. Keep quiet. Work hard. Maybe they'll even send you to school again. Maybe. The SUV turned off the busy express and drove through quiet, manicured streets lined with high walls and electric fences. The air changed here. Fewer hawkers, fewer potholes, more silence. The kind of silence that came with money. "Welcome to Banana Island," the driver muttered, more to himself than to her. Amara's fingers clenched tighter around the nylon bag. This wasn't just rich. This was another world. The gate of the mansion slid open smoothly before the car even stopped. Security cameras followed them like eyes. They drove into a compound with trimmed lawns, a fountain, polished cars lined like soldiers. The driver parked and got out. He opened Amara's door. Cold air from the house floated out as the main door opened. A tall woman stepped out, wrapped in a cream silk robe that shimmered under the porch lights. Her wig fell in perfect waves, nails long and red like claws. On her perfume reached Amara before she did. "So this is the girl?" the woman said. Her voice was cold, coated with something sweet and sharp like spoiled honey. "Yes, madam," the driver replied. "From Madam Nkem. She said she's very hard-working." The woman's eyes travelled over Amara like she was inspecting a piece of furniture. "How old are you?" 16, ma," Amara whispered. The woman clicked her tongue. "You look younger. That's good. Less distraction." She turned her head slightly. "Clement," she called into the house. "Sign the paper for the driver and give him the envelope." A man in a black shirt appeared briefly, handed something to the driver, then disappeared again without looking at Amara. "You," the woman said, turning back to her. "My name is Madame Tonia. You call me Ma. You don't raise your voice in this house. You don't touch what is not yours. You don't stand in the sitting room when visitors come. Is that clear?" "Yes, Ma." "Good. Come." Amara hurried behind her into the mansion. The air inside was cool and smelled of vanilla and money, leather sofas, marble floors, glass everywhere. There were photographs on the wall, a tall man in expensive suits, an older woman in gel, standing proudly, and one repeated image that made Amara's chest squeeze, a baby girl with chubby cheeks in different birthday dresses, different cakes, always in someone's arms. The baby's face followed her like a ghost that never grew up. "You'll sleep at the back," Madame Tonia said, leading her through a long corridor. "You share the room with the cook's assistant. Bathroom is outside. You wake by 4:30 a.m. to start work." "Yes, Ma." They reached a small, but narrow room at the back of the house with 2 iron bunks and a tiny window too high to see through. A thin girl of maybe 13 sat on the lower bunk, peeling beans into a bowl. She looked up, startled, when they entered. "Chioma, this is the new girl," Tonia said. "Her name is... What is your name again?" "Amara, Ma." "Amara. Good. You teach her what to do, and both of you better not give me headache." "Yes, Ma," Chioma murmured. When the madame left, closing the door behind her, the room seemed to exhale. Chioma studied Amara curiously, then gave a small, shy smile. "Welcome," she said. "At least I won't be alone again." Amara dropped her nylon bag on the floor and sat gingerly on the edge of the bunk. Her legs were shaking. Is Madam always like that?" she asked softly. Chioma's smile vanished. Her eyes darted to the door, even as if it had ears. "You just have to learn fast," she whispered, "and pray she is in good mood." "Where is Oga?" "The master?" "Yes." "He travels a lot," Chioma replied. "Oil business. He comes, he goes. When he's around, Madame smiles more, but shouts more too." They fell into silence. Outside the small window, Amara could see just a slice of the sky, dark and heavy with more rain. She slipped a hand into her bag and felt the rough edge of the old photograph of her parents. She held it inside the bag, fingers pressing on their faded faces, and whispered in her heart, "Daddy, Mummy, I hope you can see me. I hope this really is a better life." Because deep inside, something cold was already whispering that it wasn't. Not at all. The next morning, Amara learned what better life meant in Tonia's house. It meant waking before the birds, scrubbing floors until her fingers hurt, washing clothes that weren't hers until her back ached, cooking food she wasn't allowed to eat, and learning quickly that in this mansion she wasn't a person. She was a tool. By 6 a.m., Madame Tonia was already shouting from the hallway, "Chioma, where is my tea? Amara, why is this floor still wet? Do you want me to slip and die?" "Sorry, Ma." Amara rushed with a mop, her heart in her throat. Breakfast for Madame was served on fine china, scrambled eggs, fresh fruit, tea in a delicate cup. She ate at the big dining table while scrolling through her phone. Neither Amara nor Chioma was allowed to sit. They hovered nearby, waiting for orders, invisible, but expected to appear the second she called. At 8 a.m., the front door opened, and a tall man walked in, talking into his phone, and his suit fit like it was molded to his body. His face was serious, but there were deep lines of tiredness at the corners of his eyes. "All right, I'll be in the office by 10, he said into the phone. "Just keep the figures ready." He ended the call and dropped his phone onto the table. "Welcome, darling," Tonia purred, standing up. Her voice changed when she spoke to him. It became soft, sweet, sticky. "Morning," he replied, giving her a brief kiss on the cheek. "You're not dressed?" "I'm waiting for you," she smiled. "We'll go to the club together." He sank into a chair, rubbing his forehead. "I thought we agreed we're reducing outings this month. Too much attention." "People must see us," she said lightly. "Or do you want them to think we're broke?" He didn't answer. His eyes had drifted past her and toward the corner where Amara stood with her head bowed. "New maid?" he asked. "Yes," Tonia said quickly, as if annoyed he'd noticed. "From that my cousin in Mushin." "What's your name?" the man asked. "Amara, sir?" she whispered, not daring to meet his eyes. His gaze lingered on her for a second, not in a hungry way like some men she had known, but in a puzzled way, like something about her bothered his memory. "How old are you?" 16, sir." His eyebrows knit slightly, then cleared. "Make sure she learns fast," he said to Tonya, pushing back his chair. He nodded once at Amara. "Just do your work well, you'll be all right." Then he picked up his keys and left, the door closing behind him with a soft, final click. "His name is Chief Daniel," Kioma whispered later when they were washing plates at the sink. "He owns oil blocks, or hotels, big companies. People say he's one of the richest men in Lagos." Amara glanced toward the window, where she could see the dim outline of the high walls. Somewhere out there, his cars were already speeding toward one of those companies. He looks strict," she murmured. "He's not the problem," Kioma replied quietly. "Madame is?" "How?" Kioma stopped scrubbing. Her hands shook slightly. "Just don't ever let her think you're lazy," she said. "Don't break anything. Don't answer back. And—" her voice dropped. "Never cry where she can see you. She hates tears." Amara swallowed. Her throat felt dry. "And the baby in those pictures?" she asked. Kioma's eyes flickered toward the corridor that led to the front of the house. "She's not a baby now," Kioma said. "Her name is Zara. She's in boarding school. She only comes home sometimes. It's when she does." She broke off as footsteps echoed from the hallway. "Kioma! Amara!" Madame's voice cut through the air like a whip. They rushed forward. "Yes, Ma?" Tonya stood in the middle of the living room, holding up one of the framed photographs with a look of disgust. "Who cleaned this glass?" she demanded. "I did, Ma," Amara said, heart hammering. She had carefully wiped every glass frame with a soft cloth not even 30 minutes ago. Tonya held the frame closer to the light. "You call this clean?" From where Amara stood, it looked spotless. The reflection of the chandelier shone clearly on the surface. I'm sorry, Ma," she whispered. "Sorry for what?" Tonya asked, stepping closer. "For being useless?" Amara lowered her head. "I'll clean it again, Ma." With a sharp movement, Tonya thrust the frame into her hands. "Oh, then do it properly," she snapped. "This is not your village. This is my house. If you embarrass me, I will send you back in one day. Do you understand?" "Yes, Ma." As Tonya swept away, talking loudly on her phone about a spa appointment, Amara stood trembling, the frame clutched in her fingers. She looked down at the photograph inside. Chief Daniel sat in a chair, younger, smiling slightly, with an older woman in a rich blue lace beside him, a woman whose eyes looked kind and fierce at the same time. On his lap was a baby girl with big, curious eyes and a toothless grin. Zara, the real daughter, the real princess of this house, born to the man who owned everything. Amara's reflection hovered faintly over the glass, overlapping the baby's face. For a brief second it looked like her own eyes were staring back from the picture. She blinked, startled, and the illusion vanished. "Do your work," she whispered to herself. "Don't think too much." She took a clean cloth and began to wipe. Outside, the sky brightened slowly. In another part of Lagos, rich men argued over contracts and oil blocks. But inside this house, one poor girl's life was becoming smaller with every command. She just didn't know yet that her life and this house were tied together in a way no one imagined, not even Chief Daniel, not even Madame Tonya. Weeks turned into months. The mansion had a rhythm. The days blurred into each other like stains on a mop bucket. 4:30 a.m. Wake up, wash bathroom, sweep corridors, start boiling water. 6 a.m. prepare Madame's tea, cook breakfast, iron her clothes, 8 a.m., see her off to the club, salon, or one committee meeting or the other. Afternoons were for laundry, scrubbing and cooking stew that made the whole house smell of pepper and thyme. Evenings were the worst. Evenings were when Madame came home tired and moody, her temper sharp, her words sharper. Every small mistake became a crime. Why is there too much salt in this soup? Are you trying to kill me? Why is my dress not ironed flat? Do you want people to laugh at me? Why are you standing there like a tree? Move! When she slapped, she never missed the cheek. When she pinched, she aimed for soft flesh on the upper arm where bruises could hide under sleeves. Kioma took some of the blows. Amara took most. But she did not cry in front of Tonya. She saved that for late nights, lying on the thin mattress in the small back room, facing the wall so Kioma would not see her shoulders shake. Sometimes Kioma heard anyway. When that happened, she would reach out in the darkness and tap Amara's arm gently. "We'll leave here one day," Kioma would whisper. "Me, I'll go back to the village. I'll fry a kara with my mother. You'll go back to school." Amara would squeeze her eyes shut. School felt like a story from another lifetime. Yet there were moments, small, fragile ones, when life reminded her she was still more than a pair of hands. One such moment came on a Sunday afternoon. Chief Daniel was home. He rarely spent Sundays at the office. When he wasn't traveling, he stayed in, read newspapers, answered a few calls, and watched the news in the living room. Madame Tonya, on the other hand, loved Sundays. It was her chance to dress in elaborate lace and geal, attend services in churches where she could sit in front and be seen, then go out for lunch with other rich women and talk loudly about charity, while their maids stood behind their chairs like shadows. That Sunday, the house was quieter than usual. Tonya had gone out already, leaving perfume and scattered jewelry behind. Chief Daniel sat in the big living room, flipping through documents. The giant television was on, some economics program humming softly. "Amara," he called suddenly. She froze from where she was dusting the bookshelf. "Yes, sir." "Come." She approached carefully, wiping her hands on her apron. Her heart pounded. Had she done something wrong? He held out a magazine. The cover showed a tall building with glass walls and a headline about oil revenue. "Read this first paragraph," he said. Her brows knit in confusion. "Sir?" "You went to school, didn't you?" "Yes, sir. I till JSS2. "Read!" She swallowed and took the magazine. Her hands trembled slightly, but the letters were still her old friends. She read the opening paragraph aloud, her voice low but steady, the English awkward on her tongue at first, then smoothing out as old rhythm returned. When she finished, she stood silently, waiting for rebuke. But Chief Daniel simply nodded slowly. "Good," he said. "You read well." She almost looked up in surprise. "Thank you, sir." "How old were you when you left school?" he asked. 13, sir." "Why?" "My aunt. She could not pay again, and she said I was better for housework." He made a small sound that might have been a sigh. Or maybe it was just impatience at the news headline. "Do you like reading?" he asked. "Yes, sir." The answer came out quickly before fear could choke it. For the first time since she came into the house, he smiled. It was small, brief, but real. "That's rare these days," he muttered, more to himself. He stretched a hand toward the shelf beside him and pulled out a thinner magazine. "Here," he said. "When your work is finished at night, you can read this. Just don't let Madam catch you." He gave a short, dry laugh at his own joke. Amara stared at the magazine like it was made of gold. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, clutching it to her chest. As she turned to leave, he called her name again. "Amara." She faced him. "Where are your parents?" he asked. She hesitated. The air felt heavier. They're late, sir." Something passed over his face. Not pity exactly. More like a shadow of remembered pain. "I see," he said quietly. "Go back to your work." She left, heart confused. Or why had his eyes suddenly looked so dark when she said that? In the back room that night, when the mansion slept and the generator hummed its constant song, she lay on her bed and opened the magazine under the dim bulb. Words, pictures, charts she did not understand, but the letters at least obeyed her again. Tracing the print with her finger, she whispered, "Maybe I'm not completely lost." She did not know that somewhere in the big bedroom, on the other side of the house, Chief Daniel lay awake too, staring at the ceiling, thinking about a hospital corridor 16 years ago, a crying baby, and a decision that had never stopped haunting him. The first time Amara met Zara, it was like seeing the girl from the photographs jump out of the frame and start walking. It was mid-term break. The house had been buzzing all morning. The cook prepared jollof rice with extra chicken. The driver washed the black Range Rover until it shone like a mirror. "Make sure everywhere is spotless," Tonya commanded. "My daughter is not coming home to see nonsense." "Yes, Ma," Amara and Kioma chorused. "Don't talk too much in front of her," Tonya added, eyes narrowing. "She is not your mate. Don't be familiar. Don't be forming friendship." "No, Ma." By noon, the gate opened and a sleek car drove in. Zara stepped out wearing a designer tracksuit, her hair in a straight ponytail, a small gold cross glinting at her neck. She was 16 too, but she looked older, taller, her skin glowing with good food and good creams. "Mummy!" she squealed, running into Tonya's arms. "My baby girl!" Tonya practically sang, hugging her. "Look at you, all fine like your mother." They laughed like actresses playing a role. It was almost perfect, except for one small thing. When Zara pulled away from the hug, her smile faded just slightly, like the mask had slipped a little. "Where's Daddy?" she asked. "In the office," Tonya said smoothly. "He'll be back soon. Come inside, Jaw." As they walked in, Zara's gaze swept the living room and landed on Amara, who was standing stiffly with a tray of drinks. Their eyes met. For a brief moment, the world went quiet. Amara stared. Zara stared back. They were not identical. Zara's nose was slightly sharper, her lips fuller. But there was something unsettlingly familiar, the shape of the eyes, the curve of the chin. If anyone had been truly looking, they might have frowned and asked, "Why do these two girls from completely different worlds look like they were drawn with the same pencil?" But no one was looking that closely. "Who is that?" Zara asked mildly, nodding toward Amara. "That?" Tonya's tone turned flat. "One of the house girls, from Mushin. Just do your work, Yare." She snapped at Amara. "You're blocking the walkway." "Yes, Ma." Amara lowered her head, cheeks burning, and moved aside. But as Zara walked past, the rich girl's perfume enveloping them for a second, something strange happened. The tray trembled in Amara's hands just slightly as a wave of dizziness washed over her. The air felt thick, heavy. Her heart thudded hard in her chest, not from fear, but from a strange, aching sense of recognition. She had never seen this girl before in her life. So why did it feel like she had just seen a long-lost reflection? Zara's presence changed the rhythm of the house. Suddenly, Madame's voice became softer, at least in the front rooms. Z baby, what will you eat? Mummy made this stew for you herself. Oh. Behind the scenes, though, the pressure doubled. Amara, why is Zara's room not perfect? If she sees one speck of dust, you will sleep outside. Kioma, make sure her bathwater is the right temperature. If she shivers, I will beat you. Zara herself moved around the house with quiet confidence. She greeted staff politely but distantly, rarely using their names. At first, she barely noticed Amara beyond the occasional glance. But on the third day of her stay, something shifted. It was late evening. The compound lights glowed softly, insects buzzing around them. Chief Daniel had come home early. Father and daughter sat on the balcony upstairs, talking in low voices. From the back of the house, Amara could just hear fragments of their conversation as she rinsed plates. Tired of that school, Daddy? Zara was saying. They don't respect us there. You're not there for them to respect you, he replied calmly. You're there to learn. But the other girls? Zara, he said, voice firm but gentle. You have a future bigger than school gossip. Focus. Silence, then a reluctant, yes, Daddy. Later that night, Amara stepped into the corridor with a bucket and almost collided with Zara coming out of her room. Sorry, Ma, Amara muttered, stepping back quickly. The bucket splashed a little, water sloshing onto the polished floor. Zara frowned. Hey, be careful. I'm sorry, Amara repeated, heart racing. I'll clean it now. She knelt quickly, wiping the water with a rag. Zara watched her for a long moment. What's your name again? She asked. Amara, Ma? Zara leaned against the wall, arms crossed. How old are you? 16, Ma. Same as me? Zara's brows rose. You look smaller. Amara's cheeks heated. I stopped growing early, Ma, she said quietly, half joking, half serious. To her surprise, Zara chuckled. You're funny. She hesitated, then asked, Where are you from? Mbez, Ma, but I grew up in Lagos. Both your parents are from there? Amara's hands stilled on the wet floor. She swallowed. They were, Ma. They're late. Zara's face shifted, something round and soft passing through her eyes. Oh, she said, voice gentler. Sorry? It's okay, Ma. It's not, Zara muttered under her breath. There was a brief silence. You go to school? Zara asked. Not now, Ma. But you went before? Yes, till JSS2. And you stopped? Yes, Ma. Why? No money, Ma. Zara's jaw tightened, like something about that offended her personally. They couldn't just pay your school fees? Amara almost laughed. They barely had money for food, she said softly. Zara looked away toward the window, where city lights blinked in the distance. That's stupid, she murmured. Everybody should go to school. For some people, should is a luxury, Amara said, quietly, before she could stop herself. Zara's eyes snapped back to her. What did you say? I'm sorry? No, Zara cut in. Say it again. Amara swallowed. I said, for some people, should is a luxury. Slowly, Zara's lips curved into a small, reluctant smile. You read that somewhere? She asked. No, Ma, it just came. Zara studied her like a puzzle. You talk like Daddy's friends in those think tank meetings. I don't know what that means, Ma, Amara replied honestly. This time, Zara laughed outright. It was a bright sound that made her seem more like a teenager and less like a polished doll. You're strange, she said. I like it. Before Amara could react, they heard Tonia's heels clacking down the corridor. Zara, baby, who are you talking to? Instantly, Zara stepped back, her laughter vanishing. "Nobody, Mummy," she said lightly. "Just the maid cleaning water she poured on the floor." Tonia's eyes flicked to Amara, the softness in her face disappearing. "You," she snapped. "Finish and go to bed. Don't stand here and distract my daughter." "Yes, Ma." As they walked away, Zara glanced back once. Their eyes met briefly. There was something in Zara's look. Curiosity, confusion, and something that looked disturbingly like recognition. It was the first fragile thread between them. It would not be the last. The storm started with one sentence. It came on a hot Wednesday afternoon when the air hung heavy and the generator hummed lazily. Madame Tonia was in the living room, trying on outfits for a charity gala. 3 dresses lay scattered on the sofa. She stood before a mirror, wrapped in a 4th, twisting this way and that, lips pursed. "Zara," she called, "come and help me choose, Jaw." Zara appeared from upstairs, scrolling on her phone. "What is it, Mom? Between this gold and the wine one, which is better?" Zara eyed the dress and shrugged. "They both look fine." "Fine is not enough," Tonia snapped. "Your father's board members will be there. I have to look like someone that fits beside a chairman." "Or not like riffraff." As they argued about colour and style, Amara and Kioma moved quietly around the room, picking up discarded shoes and hangers. Tonia's voice rose as she complained about other women's gowns at the last event. "That woman's dress was fake. I knew it. You can't compare old money with these new big girls." Zara dropped onto a chair, half listening, half bored. Her thumb hovered over her phone screen. She wasn't expecting what popped up next. She'd been tagged on an old post by a former classmate, a throwback photo from 3 years ago. At the time, it had been a fun moment, a school Mother's Day event. All the girls had taken group pictures with their mothers. Zara tapped the notification absent-mindedly. The photo loaded, rows of girls in uniforms, their mothers in Sunday best, big smiles, bad lighting. Zara zoomed in on her own corner of the picture. There she was, shorter, with chubbier cheeks, standing between Tonia and Chief Daniel. Her father's hand rested lightly on her shoulder. Tonia smiled brightly at the camera, her eyes glittering. Something about the image pulled at Zara's chest. "Why are you frowning?" Tonia asked, noticing her silence. "Nothing," Zara said quickly. But her eyes didn't move from the screen. She zoomed in further, focusing on her own face, on her eyes, on her jaw, on Daniel's. Her father's eyes were a deep brown. His skin tone was rich, warm. His nose was straight, his jawline sharp. Zara had always been told she looked exactly like him. "Oh, you are your father's copy," aunties would coo. "Nobody needs DNA to know this one." She had believed them. But as she stared at the zoomed-in picture, something felt off. Her skin tone was a shade lighter. Her eyes were a different brown, almost lighter in the center. Her nose was narrower, more like Tonia's. It was a small thing, silly maybe, but it scratched at her peace. She scrolled down to other tags. Another photo came up, of her as a toddler, sitting on her grandmother's lap, Chief Daniel's mother. Grandma Gloria. She hadn't seen that woman in years. In the photo, Granny Gloria's hand held the baby's wrist. On the baby's wrist was a hospital tag. The letters were blurry, but Zara squinted. D. something. Her own initials. Or were they? "What are you doing?" Tonia demanded, irritated that she was being ignored. Zara clicked off the picture and stood. "Nothing," she said again. "Just old photos." "Well, look at this dress instead," Tonia said. "Or you think your father will like it?" Zara forced a smile. He likes whatever you wear, Mum. Tonia's eyes softened, pleased. Of course. Go and change. I want to see your new gown, too. We must finish fitting before the tailor comes. Yes, Mum. Zara turned and left the room, but her mind was already elsewhere. In the corridor, she almost bumped into Amara again, who was carrying a basket of washed clothes. Sorry, Zara murmured, not really paying attention. It's okay, Ma, Amara said. Zara walked a few steps, then stopped and turned back. Hey, she called quietly. Amara paused. Yes, Ma? How old did you say you are? 16, Ma. And your parents? They died how many years ago? 10, Ma, Amara replied slowly, wondering why she was asking. When I was 6. Zara's throat felt suddenly dry. Do you remember them? Small, Amara said. I remember my mother's voice when she sings, and my father's cologne. He used to carry me on his shoulders. The image of the old photo flashed in Zara's mind, her father carrying a toddler, both laughing. What was your father's name? Zara asked. Amara hesitated. Talking about them always opened up a wound, but something in the other girl's eyes made her answer. Cheek, she said. Cheek Daniel Okafor. The corridor tilted. For a second, Zara could hear nothing but her own heartbeat roaring in her ears. Daniel, she repeated faintly. Yes, Ma. Everybody called him Danny. He worked for one big man before they died. Zara swallowed hard. What did he do? He was a driver, Amara said. My mother used to say he drove like he was flying. He worked for one big company around Ikoyi, oil company. Ikoyi, oil, Daniel. Zara's palms grew sweaty. And your mother? She whispered. Her name was Adaise. Tears prickled behind Zara's eyes. Adaise. The name felt familiar, like she'd overheard it once as a child, in a conversation adults stopped when she entered the room. She took a shaky breath. What happened to them? Amara's gaze dropped. My aunt said there was a fire, she replied. They were in the house. They didn't come out. Zara's stomach twisted. What house? The company quarters, Amara said. Where they were staying. My aunt said they called the ogre, but he didn't come. Somewhere upstairs a door slammed. A voice called Zara's name. Zara, where are you? Tonia. Zara flinched. I'm coming, Mum, she shouted back. She looked at Amara again. Don't tell anyone we talked about this, she said abruptly. Okay? Amara blinked, confused. Okay, Ma. Zara turned and walked away. Her steps were steady. Her heart was not. That night, when everyone slept, Zara sat in her room with her laptop open. She searched DNA paternity test Lagos, fingers trembling. She clicked on a hospital link, then another, reading words she'd never cared about before. Sample, consent, legal guardian, confidential. She stared at her own reflection on the laptop screen for a long time. Who are you really? She whispered. When she finally slept, her dreams were full of fire and crying babies. And somewhere in the back room, at the opposite end of the house, Amara dreamed too. She dreamed of a man calling her my sunshine, of a woman singing lullabies, of blue hospital tags and a baby crying somewhere else, alone. They both woke up with their hearts heavy, and not knowing they were trapped in the same story, one as the cherished daughter, the other as the forgotten maid. Not knowing that a simple test of blood would soon tear the mansion's polished walls apart and expose a secret that had been buried since the day one baby was carried out of the hospital in a rich man's arms, while another was carried out in a poor woman's. Would you like the DNA test twist to happen at a public event, like a birthday or board meeting, or in a private hospital first, before it explodes publicly? Continue. Zara didn't touch her breakfast the next morning. Tonya noticed immediately. "What is it again?" she demanded, dropping a spoon with a clatter. "Is the egg not fresh? Is the bread not soft enough?" "I'm not hungry," Zara murmured, pushing the plate away. "You're always doing this mood thing," Tonya snapped. Are you in your period or something?" "Tonya?" The quiet warning came from the other end of the table. Chief Daniel, still in his shirt sleeves, looked up from his newspaper. His gaze flicked briefly to Zara, then back to his wife. "Leave her," he said. "She'll eat if she wants." Tonya rolled her eyes, but dropped it. Zara stared at her orange juice, fingers twisting the edge of the tablecloth under the table. "Daddy," she said suddenly, voice too calm, "can I ask you something?" He folded the newspaper. "Ask." She hesitated, feeling Tonya's eyes on her. "Did you ever have a driver called Cheek?" she asked. The air changed. The clink of cutlery stopped. Daniel's fingers tightened around the paper. His face didn't move, but something behind his eyes flared. "Where did you hear that name?" he asked quietly. Zara forced her chin up.
"I just want to know. Who told you? Is it true?" she pressed. "Did you have a driver called Chike Daniel Okafor?" Across the table, Tonya's spoon fell from her fingers and clattered against the plate. "Zara, what nonsense question is that?" she snapped. "Who have you been talking to?" "Answer me," Zara insisted, ignoring her. Daniel looked at his daughter for a long time, then exhaled slowly. "Yes," he said at last. "Many years ago, before you were born." Zara's heartbeat roared in her ears. "What happened to him?" "He died," Daniel said. "How?" "In an accident," he replied. "Fire?" Zara asked. Their eyes locked. "Who told you that?" he repeated. Zara's mouth went dry. She could feel her mother's gaze burning into the side of her head. "Nobody," she lied quickly. "I just heard things." "Well, I stop listening to gossip," Tonya cut in sharply. "These staff people like to form story writers. They don't know anything." Zara stood abruptly. "Where are you going?" Tonya demanded. "Out," Zara said. "I need air." "Sit down and finish your—" "Tonya?" Daniel's voice was soft but firm. "Let her go." Zara walked away, feeling their eyes on her back. She didn't stop until she reached the end of the corridor. She gripped the banister, forcing herself to breathe. He didn't deny it. The driver existed. He died in a fire, and her parents had never mentioned him. Not once. Why? The decision came that same afternoon, under a sun so bright it made the marble floors look like ice. Zara stood at the landing, watching the staff move like ants below. Amara carried a basket of folded clothes. Kioma hurried behind her with a mop.
Tonya's laughter drifted from the sitting room where some of her friends had gathered, perfume and gossip filling the air. Zara's phone buzzed. It was a message from one of the websites she'd visited last night. "Free consultation on DNA testing. Book now." Her thumb hovered over the link. She clicked. 10 minutes later, she had an appointment in 2 days at a private diagnostic center in Ikoyi. All she needed now were samples. Her own was easy. Her father's was harder. As for Amara, her gaze drifted to the back of the house. That night, the opportunity came by itself. The generator went off for a few minutes, a rare outage. In that brief darkness, the mansion groaned and settled, the silence suddenly loud. When the power came back, it overloaded one of the upstairs sockets. A sharp crack sounded from Zara's room, followed by the faint smell of burnt plastic. "Amara!" someone shouted. "Come upstairs!" Amara rushed up with a piece of dry cloth. In Zara's room, one of the power strips had blackened. The extension wire lay on the floor, smoking slightly. "Sorry, Ma," Amara said breathlessly. "I'll clean it now." Zara stood by the window, arms wrapped around herself. "It's fine," she said. "Just unplug everything." Amara bent to her work. As she wiped, Zara's eyes followed the movement of her slender fingers, the curve of her neck, the small scar near her left ear. "I need your help," Zara said suddenly. Amara looked up, startled. "Ma?" Zara shut the door gently. The click sounded too loud. "Don't panic," Zara said quickly. "Nobody's in trouble. I just need you to do something for me, and you must not tell my mum." Amara's chest tightened. Secrets between Madam and her daughter were dangerous ground. "What is it?" she asked carefully. Zara walked to her dressing table and opened a drawer. She pulled out a small kit, 3 sterile cotton swabs and a plastic envelope. The hospital's logo gleamed faintly on the packet. "Do you know what DNA is?" Zara asked. Amara frowned. I've heard it in films, like blood test." "It's how they know who is someone's real parent," Zara said. Her voice shook slightly. "I want to do a test." Fear shot through Amara like cold water. "For what?" "For myself," Zara replied. "And for you." "Me?" "Yes." Amara took a step back. "No, Ma, I don't understand." "Listen," Zara said desperately. "I just want to know something. After that, if I'm wrong, I will never bother you again. But if I'm right—" She swallowed. "Then your whole life will change." Amara laughed, a small, broken sound. "My life cannot change, Ma." "You don't know that." "I'm a maid," Amara whispered. "This is my life." "Maybe it's not supposed to be," Zara shot back. Their eyes locked. Zara took a deep breath. "Please," she said, "I just need you to rub this inside your cheek, that's all. No blood, no hospital now. I'll take care of everything." Amara stared at the swab. "What if Madame finds out?" "She won't," Zara said quickly. "I'll hide it. I'll go alone. She doesn't follow me everywhere." "Why are you doing this?" Amara whispered. "Because—" Zara's voice cracked. "Because when I look at you, I see my own face, because my father never talks about his past, because there are too many things that don't add up." She took a shaky breath. Because I have to know if this life, if this house, is actually mine." The silence between them pulsed. Amara thought of the nights she spent crying into her thin pillow. She thought of her parents' faces, fuzzy in her memory. She thought of her aunt's harsh voice, insisting there was no money, no choice, no way out. What if? What if all of that wasn't just poverty and bad luck? What if there was a reason she had ended up in this exact house, with this exact man, with this exact daughter, whose eyes looked like hers? Her hands trembled as she reached out. "Okay," she whispered. "What do I do?" Zara exhaled in relief, almost sagging with it. She opened the packet and handed a swab to Amara. "Just put it in your mouth," she instructed quietly. "Rub it against your cheek inside for like 10 seconds. Amara did as she was told, her heart pounding so loud she could hear it in her ears. "Now hold it like this," Zara said, taking a second swab. "I'll do mine." They stood facing each other, both girls swabbing the inside of their cheeks in silence. 2 lives, 2 stories, 2 versions of daughterhood rubbing against cotton to reveal the truth. When they finished, Zara carefully placed each swab into the labeled sleeves. "Now your name," Zara said. "Write it here." I can still write," Amara said softly. She took the pen and slowly wrote Amara N. Okafor on the small label. Her handwriting was shaky but neat. Zara watched, her throat tight. She wrote her own name too, Zara D. Okafor. Okafor, both of them. Zara forced herself to breathe. "I'll get my father's sample," she said. "How?" She gave a short, humourless laugh. "He's always leaving his used water bottles and toothpicks everywhere. Trust me, I'll find something." As if on cue, a knock sounded at the door. "Z," Daniel's voice came through. "You okay?" Zara jumped. "Yes, Daddy," she called. "1 minute." She shoved the envelope and swabs back into the drawer and slammed it shut. "Go," she whispered to Amara. "Use the back stairs." Amara slipped out through the bathroom door, her heart racing. She had just done something she could never explain to anyone. If this secret exploded, it would burn more than just her. It would burn the entire house. The diagnostic center in Ikoyi smelled like antiseptic and new paint. 3 days later, Zara sat in a small consultation room, her hands cold despite the air conditioning. The nurse smiled professionally. "So, Miss Zara, you are here for a DNA test?" "Yes," Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady. "For, family relationship." "Do you have consent from your father?" the nurse asked. "Yes," Zara lied, sliding the envelope across the table. "He's very busy. He sent his sample instead." The nurse examined the packet. "Buccal swabs," she murmured. "Okay." Her eyes flicked up. "And the second person?" Relative," Zara said. "We just want to know if we're related." The nurse's eyes softened slightly. "Don't worry. We handle many cases like this. It's confidential." Zara nodded. As the nurse left with the samples, closing the door behind her, Zara's composure cracked. She put her head in her hands. "What am I doing?" she whispered. If she was wrong, she would have wasted money, time, and risked being caught. And if she was right, she didn't allow herself to complete the thought. The results would be ready in a week, the nurse had said. "A week," Zara muttered as she left the clinic. 7 days to find out who I've been all my life. Those 7 days felt like 7 years. The house continued its rhythm, Tonia's voice, staff footsteps, Daniel's phone calls. But for Zara and Amara, time moved differently. Zara drifted through rooms like a ghost, flinching whenever her father touched her shoulder. Amara worked harder than ever, trying to bury herself in chores so she wouldn't think. At night, sleeplessness gripped them both. Kioma noticed Amara's hollow eyes. "Are you sick?" she whispered one night. "I'm fine," Amara lied. She could not tell even her only friend. The secret felt too big, too dangerous to share. On the 5th day, something happened that nearly shattered everything before the test even came back. It started with a careless sentence from one of Tonia's friends, a loud woman with a leopard print scarf who thought staff were deaf. "Ah, Tonia," the woman laughed over chin-chin and wine. "You remember when Mummy-in-law said that baby didn't look like the father?" Tonia froze. "I believe that woman," she said quickly. "She's late now." "But she said it." "Oh," the friend insisted. "That time you gave birth to Zara, I remember she was shouting in the hospital, 'This one doesn't have my son's nose. Are you sure it's our blood?'" They laughed. Tonia's laugh was high, forced. "She was a village woman," she said, "always talking without filter." Amara, dusting quietly in the corner, stopped breathing. Zara, passing by the corridor, also heard. She stood in the shadow, unseen, listening. Another friend chimed in. Then she started making noise about DNA test. "Thank God your husband shut it down quickly." Amara's cloth slipped from her fingers. Tonia's voice dropped. "I beg, don't remind me," she said tightly. "That woman almost scattered my marriage with her madness. Imagine asking for DNA test as if I was one Lagos girl." "But you denied, Shah." the leopard scarf woman said. You stood your ground. I told her I would never insult my husband like that, Tonya declared. Me, Tonya, do DNA test, God forbid. Who does she think I am? Their laughter rolled through the room. In the corridor, Zara's hands shook so badly she had to brace them against the wall. Grandma Gloria had wanted a DNA test. Her mother had refused. Why, if there was nothing to hide? Later that night, when the house finally quieted, Zara knocked on Amara's door at the back. Chioma was already asleep, her small body curled tightly on the lower bunk. Amara opened the door a crack and saw Zara's pale face in the dim light. Come outside, Zara whispered. They slipped into the narrow backyard, where the generator hummed in the corner, and the night air smelled of fuel and distant rain. Did you hear what those women said? Zara asked. Yes, Amara said. I think... Zara swallowed. I think my grandmother suspected something from the beginning. And your mother refused the test, Amara said quietly. Yes. They stood in tense silence. I got an email from the lab, Zara said. The results came this afternoon. Amara's heart dropped to her stomach. And, she whispered. I haven't opened it, Zara admitted. I couldn't. I was scared. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands. Open it with me, she whispered. Amara shook her head. No, Ma. This is your family. It might be yours too, Zara cut in. The words landed between them like a stone dropped in water, sending ripples through everything they thought they knew. Slowly, Zara tapped the email. The file loaded. Her eyes scanned the first lines, searching for words she half understood. Alleged father, child 1, probability of paternity. Her vision blurred. What does it say? Amara whispered. Zara blinked hard, focusing on the numbers. 0%, she read aloud. Silence. What? Amara breathed. Probability of paternity, 0%, Zara repeated, voice flat. Alleged father is excluded as biological father of child. Her knees almost gave way. She grabbed the low wall for support. Oh, it's a lie, she whispered. It has to be a mistake. Daddy is my father. He has to be. Amara's own head spun. What about... She couldn't finish. Zara scrolled down further, hands shaking violently now. Family relationship between child 1 and child 2, she read, barely hearing herself. Result? No genetic markers consistent with biological sibling relationship. She stopped. The world seemed to tilt. We're not related, Zara said. The words felt unreal. Amara stared at her. So I'm not his daughter, Zara whispered. And you're not mine. We're nothing. Her voice cracked on the last word. Tears spilled over. No, Amara said slowly. That doesn't make sense. Then who am I? Who am I? Zara shot back, voice rising. I have his last name. I live in his house. The world knows me as his daughter. And if he's not my father, then who am I? She laughed wildly, choking on it. Oh, God, she whispered. I'm a fraud. I'm a fake heiress. The word landed hard. Heiress. In the mansion, in the newspapers, in the whispers of staff, Zara was the future of the Okafor Empire. Now, a few paragraphs of medical jargon were saying she was nothing but an imposter. Amara felt like someone had pulled the floor out from under her. If you're not his, she said slowly, then where is his real child? Zara looked at her with wild eyes. I don't know, she whispered. But I swear. Her voice dropped to a hoarse whisper. When I saw your face the first day, something in me moved, like I was looking at a missing piece. She swallowed hard. What if? What if you are the real one? No,
Amara said immediately, backing away. No, I'm just a maid. You're not just anything, Zara snapped. You don't even act like a maid. You read newspapers. You talk like my father's friends. Your father worked for an oil company. He died in a fire around the time I was born. The pieces slammed together like a door in a storm. Baby pictures, hospital tags, a grandmother's suspicion, a fire. What if they switched us? Zara whispered. Amara shook her head, tears streaming now. That only happens in films, Ma, she said weakly. So? Zara shot back. Do you think rich people don't do mad things in real life? She gripped Amara's shoulders. Help me, she begged. Help me find out the rest. I can't do this alone. Amara wanted to run, but where would she go? Back to her aunt's one room? Back to a life where she never asked questions? No, somewhere deep inside.
And a stubborn, aching part of her wanted the truth, even if it destroyed everything. What do we do? She whispered. Zara wiped her face roughly. My mother will never confess if we confront her directly, she said. She'll deny, she'll twist, she'll say we fabricated the test. Your father? Amara asked. Zara's eyes softened. I don't know if he knows, but he loved his mother. If she wanted a DNA test and he shut it down, maybe he was running from something too. She took a deep breath. There's a board meeting and family dinner next week, she said. Daddy is inviting lots of people. They want to announce a new scholarship foundation in my name. A bitter smile twisted her lips. Zara Okafor Foundation, helping poor girls go to school. Amara flinched at the irony.
What if... Zara's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. What if we make sure the truth comes out that day? Amara stared at her. In front of everybody? Yes. That's suicide, Amara stammered. They will send me away. They will say it's a lie. Not if we have proof, Zara replied. We already have the test, Amara said. Which they can claim is fake, Zara countered. We need something else. Old hospital records, grandma's letters, anything that shows there was confusion at birth? How will we get that? Daddy keeps files locked in his home office, Zara said slowly. Contracts, old documents. He also has a safe. But sometimes he leaves files on his desk when he's tired. Amara shook her head. That room is always locked. Not when he's inside, Zara said. Their eyes met. Zara drew in a steadying breath.
Will you help me? Amara thought of everything she stood to lose. A roof over her head, meals, even if they were scraps. The fragile kindness Daniel sometimes showed her. But what if this roof was actually hers? What if the kindness wasn't charity, but instinct? She lifted her chin. Yes, she said softly. I'll help. The night around them seemed to lean in. Somewhere inside the house, a clock chimed the hour. Time was running out. The day of the board dinner arrived wrapped in expensive fabric and false smiles. The Okafor mansion glowed brighter than usual. Fairy lights twinkled in the garden. Caterers moved in and out, carrying trays of small chops. Drivers lined the street outside with polished cars. Inside, the living room had been transformed. A long table stretched almost wall to wall, set with gleaming cutlery and crystal glasses. The air smelled of grilled fish, peppered snails, and foreign cologne. Tonya floated through the preparations like a queen, her gown hugging her curves, her jewel towering and perfect. She paused every now and then to bark commands. Move that chair! Who put this flower here? It should be on that side. Amara, why is that water not chilled? Yes, Ma. Amara's hands were steady on the trays, but her heart thumped wildly. The plan was simple in theory, dangerous in practice. Zara had printed a copy of the DNA results and hidden them in her clutch. She had also managed, through 2 tense days and one lucky moment when Daniel left his study door partly open, to snap photos of an old hospital file bearing her name next to a scribbled note in another handwriting. Baby tag D-02 moved at 3:15 a.m. Check with Nurse Ada. There were crossouts, corrections, and a hastily scribbled new tag number. The sight had made her nearly vomit. Now those photos sat in a folder on her phone, backing up the lab report. All that remained were when to pull the trigger, when to explode the lie. Guests began to arrive as the sun sank. Men in agbadas embroidered with gold, women in shimmering lace, board members, politicians, extended relatives. Daniel moved among them with practiced ease, shaking hands, exchanging polite jokes. His eyes lingered on Zara often, pride softening his features. "Tonight," he had told her that morning, "we are announcing something big in your name. You deserve it."
"You've worked hard." The words had cut her like glass, because according to the report, she didn't deserve anything in this house at all. Yet here he was, loving her anyway. The thought almost broke her resolve. Almost. The last straw came from Tonya. As Zara stood in front of the mirror adjusting her dress, her mother stepped in behind her, hugging her from the back. "My beautiful heiress," Tonya purred into her ear. "Tonight, everyone will see you as their future queen." Zara met her own eyes in the mirror. She saw herself. She saw Amara. She saw babies in a hospital, one going home to silk sheets, the other to a room in Mushin. "Mom," she said quietly, "if someone said we should do a DNA test today, what would you say?" Tonya's arms stiffened. "What kind of stupid question is that?" she snapped. "Just answer," Zara pressed.
Tonya stepped back, eyes blazing. "Are you mad?" she hissed. "After all these years, after everything, do you want to insult your father publicly?" "What if the truth is already an insult?" Zara whispered. Tonya's hand flew before Zara even saw it coming. The slap rang loud in the room. "Never talk like that again," Tonya snarled, breathing hard. "You are Daniel's daughter. Full stop. Any nonsense thought you have, kill it now." She grabbed Zara's chin hard. "You hear me?" Zara's eyes burned. "I hear you," she said softly. But in her mind, another voice spoke. "I won't obey you." As Tonya swept out, adjusting her gel, Zara touched her stinging cheek. The test result in her clutch felt heavier. The decision was made. Tonight, she would break the lie, even if it broke her too. Dinner started smoothly. Glasses clinked, and laughter rose and fell. Daniel gave a short speech about growth, expansion, the future. "As you all know," he said, "I built this company for my family. Not just for my children, but for every person whose life has been touched by our work." Polite applause. "Tonight," he continued, "I'm proud to announce the launch of the Zara Okafor Foundation, a scholarship program for underprivileged girls, fully funded by the company." More applause, louder this time. Guests turned to smile at Zara, who sat at his right hand, her dress sparkling under the chandelier. "At the heart of this foundation," Daniel said, "is my daughter, Zara. She has always had a passion for justice and education. I believe she will carry this legacy farther than I can dream." He placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Stand, my dear." Zara rose, legs weak. All eyes, all cameras. Across the room, tucked by the wall, Amara held a jug of juice and watched, invisible as always. Daniel squeezed Zara's fingers. "Say something," he murmured. Her throat was dry. She looked at him. At Tonya, smiling proudly, at the board members, at the staff lined at the edges, at Amara, whose dark eyes burned with silent fear. And then in a calm voice that did not sound like her own, she said, "Thank you, Daddy." She turned to the room. "Everyone, I'm honored," she began. "But before we celebrate this foundation, there is something I need to say. Something I discovered recently." Tonya stiffened. "Zara," she hissed under her breath. "Not now." Zara's hand shook slightly as she reached into her clutch. "When you name a foundation after someone," she continued, "you are saying that person represents you, your values."
"Yeah, your blood." She pulled out the folded paper. "The problem is," her voice cracked, then steadied, "I have evidence that I'm not who you think I am." Gasps, confused murmurs. Daniel's brows knit. "Zara, what are you doing?" She looked him straight in the eye, tears glistening but not falling. "I did a DNA test," she said clearly. "It says you are not my biological father." The word DNA rippled through the room like a current. Aunties covered their mouths. Board members exchanged glances. Tonya shot to her feet. "Stop this madness!" she shouted. "Sit down, Zara!" But Zara did not sit. She unfolded the paper with trembling hands and laid it on the table, sliding it toward Daniel. "I didn't want to embarrass you," she choked. "I swear. But you were about to build something on a lie, on my name. And I can't carry a name that might not be mine." Daniel stared at the paper, face unreadable. "How dare you?" Tonya raged. "In front of our guests, you think you can behave like this because you've gone to one small school?" "This isn't about school," Zara said, voice shaking. "This is about truth." Her eyes swept the room. "I also have reason to believe," she said, "that there was another baby at the hospital the day I was born." Her gaze drifted toward the line of staff, toward Amara. "That baby," she whispered, "was not the one who came home." Somewhere in the crowd, someone gasped, "Jesus!" Daniel's face had gone ashen. "Who filled your head with these things?" he asked hoarsely. "Nobody," Zara said. "I found the lab myself. I took the samples myself. The report is here. And I found—" Her voice broke again.
I found a note in your old file, Daddy, about a mistake with the tags. A nurse named Ada. A baby moved." Daniel closed his eyes briefly, as if a long-buried ghost had just walked into the room. Tonya lunged for the paper. "You're reading nonsense," she shouted. "These laboratories, what do they know? Anybody can print rubbish and call it DNA." Daniel's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. "Don't," he said, quietly. His voice cut through the chaos like a knife. Tonya froze, breathing hard. Daniel slowly picked up the paper with the same hands that had signed contracts, held millions, built an empire. Now they shook. His eyes moved over the words. Alleged father excluded. Probability of paternity, 0%. He put the report down carefully, as if afraid it would explode. "Who authorized this test?" he asked. "I did," Zara whispered.
"Oh, without my consent?" "Yes." His jaw clenched. "You had no right." "I know," she said. "But I had to know." The room watched, frozen. "And now that you know?" he asked. "What do you want?" Zara swallowed. "I want the rest of the truth," she said softly. "From you. From Mum. From whoever was in that hospital that night." Her eyes glistened as they slid toward Amara. "And I think she deserves it too." Every head turned. Amara felt like the lights had suddenly become spotlights. "What are you looking at her for?" Tonya snapped. "She's just a maid." Zara flinched. "Don't call her that," she said sharply. "Have you lost your mind?" Tonya screamed. Because of one piece of paper, you want to throw away your life? This house? Your name? My life is already thrown away if it's built on a swap, Zara shot back.
Or her voice rang around the room. Daniel slowly rose. The room fell completely silent. He looked at his wife, then at his daughter, then at the girl by the wall, hands shaking around a jug of juice. "Put that down," he said to Amara quietly. Her fingers tightened. "Sir?" she whispered. "Put it down," he repeated. She obeyed, setting the jug on a side table. Her legs felt like water. "Come here," he said. Tonya exploded. "No!" she shouted.
"Daniel, don't you dare! Don't drag that girl into this! It's already embarrassing enough!" He ignored her. "Come," he said again, softer. Amara took a step forward, then another. Her heart hammered so fast she thought she'd collapse before she reached him. She stopped a few feet from the table, feeling the eyes of the entire room on her. Up close, she could see the lines of Daniel's face more clearly.
And the streaks of grey at his temples, the deep tiredness in his eyes. "What is your full name?" he asked. "Amara Okafor," she whispered. The surname hit him like a physical blow. "Okafor," he repeated. "Who gave you that name?" "My father, sir," she said. "What was his name?" "Chike Daniel Okafor." His breath hitched. "And your mother?" "A Daisy." His hand trembled visibly now. "When did they die?" he asked. 10 years ago, sir," she said. "In a fire, in the company quarters." He closed his eyes. Guests glanced at each other, sensing they were witnessing something that should have been private, but unable to look away. "Why?" His voice was barely audible. "Why didn't anyone tell me he had a child?" "He!" Amara's own throat tightened. "My aunt said he used to talk about you, sir, that you were a good boss. But she said, after they died—"
Nobody came. Nobody asked." His eyes opened slowly. Pain burned in them. I never knew," he whispered. "They told me the fire was empty, that he had no family." His gaze slid sideways, landing on Tonya. She stiffened under it. "You knew," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. Color drained from her face, but her chin lifted defiantly. I knew the wife had a baby," she said. "But that was not our business. They were staff. Accidents happen." Zara made a strangled sound. "Staff?" she echoed. "You talk like they were furniture." "Shut up, Zara," Tonya snapped. "You think you know everything? You were a baby. You don't remember how things were?" Daniel's voice cut through. "Then tell us," he said. "Tell us how things were." Tonya's eyes darted around the room, suddenly cornered. "This is not the place," she said quickly.
Your board members are here. Our friends are here. Don't let them see us disgrace ourselves like common people." "Common people tell the truth too," Daniel said. He stepped out from behind the table. For the first time in a long while, he didn't look like a chairman or a billionaire. He just looked like a man who had made mistakes and was finally staring them in the face. "We will remove them if we must," he said quietly. "But I will not bury another truth." Tonya laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. "So because of these two," she gestured wildly at Zara and Amara, "you want to throw away everything we built?" He shook his head slowly. "I think," he said, "we built it on top of something that was already broken." He turned to the guests. "Everyone, please," he said. "Give us 10 minutes." Chairs scraped, murmurs rose, and some people were already getting up, sensing scandal and wanting no part of it. Others stayed, hungry for more drama. But the core board members, the family friends who had known Daniel since he was a young man, remained seated, their faces grave. "We are not leaving," one of the older men said quietly. "If the truth is coming out, let it come out with witnesses," Tonya hissed. "Cowards, the lot of you." She turned to run, but Zara stepped in front of her. "Don't," she said softly. For a moment, mother and daughter faced each other, mirror images twisted by secrets. "Please, Mom," Zara whispered, "if you ever loved me, even a little, tell the truth." The room held its breath. Tonya's shoulders slumped just for a second. She looked at Daniel, at the man she had fought to own, to control, to keep. She looked at Zara, and the girl she had raised as her golden ticket. She looked at Amara, the maid whose eyes had always unsettled her. Her mask cracked, just a little. "What do you want me to say?" she rasped. "That 16 years ago things got messy in a government hospital, that a nurse was careless, that your mother—" She pointed a shaking finger at Amara. "Your dead mother came to me crying, saying they mixed up the tags, that she wanted you back." Gasps. Amara swayed. "You knew?" she whispered. Tonya's laugh was bitter. "She came to the house," she said, "3 days after you were born. She said they gave her the wrong baby. That when she saw Zara's picture in the newspaper beside your father, she knew. She recognized the mark on Zara's arm, the birthmark." Zara's hand flew to the underside of her left wrist, where a small, pale patch of skin sat like a permanent raindrop. "I told her she was crazy," Tonya continued, her voice rising. "I told her she wanted to extort us, imagine. A poor woman accusing me, Tonya, of stealing a baby." "You didn't even check?" Daniel asked hoarsely. "I asked the hospital," she snapped. "They denied everything. They said their records were straight. Your mother started her nonsense, saying Zara didn't look like you. You got angry. You shut it down. What else was I supposed to do?" "Listen," Daniel said. "To what?" Tonya screamed. "To ruin my life? To go back to being the girl from nothing? Do you know what it took for me to reach this place?" She pointed at the marble floor, at the chandelier, at the guests. "I was not going to let some crying driver's wife destroy what I built." Her chest heaved. "So yes," she spat, I refused the DNA test. I told the woman never to come back, and when she died, I thanked God. There." The silence that followed felt like an earthquake in slow motion. Zara stared at her mother as if seeing a stranger. "You thanked God," she whispered, "when a woman who might have been my real mother died." Tonya's eyes flashed. "I was your real mother," she hissed. "I fed you, I dressed you, I made you somebody." "You made me a lie," Zara said. "And you?" Daniel turned to Tonya, voice shaking with something deeper than anger. "You made me a thief without my knowledge." He looked at Amara. "At least once in your life," he said to his wife, "you should have chosen truth over fear." "It's easy for you to say," she shot back. "You're a man. If the test had shown you weren't the father then, would you have accepted the shame?"
Or blamed me? He had no answer. She smiled, bitter and victorious. "Exactly," she said. "So don't act holy." She grabbed her clutch. "I'm done," she said. "Believe whatever you want. If you want that girl," she flicked her eyes toward Amara, "take her. Call her your heiress. See if she can survive this world like I did. But don't expect me to stand here and watch you drag my name in the mud." She turned to Zara. "You," she said, "you think you're better than me because you read one lab report. Let's see if your new truth will keep you warm when this house swallows you." With that, she marched out, heels clicking like gunshots. The door slammed. The echo rolled through the stunned room. Amara stood trembling, cheeks wet, the word heiress ringing in her ears. Zara stood stiffly, The paper crumpled in her fist.
Out the word lie pulsing in her chest. Daniel took a long, shuddering breath. He looked at both girls, his face etched with regret, horror, and a painful tenderness. "Everyone," he said at last, voice hoarse, "this dinner is over." Chairs scraped. People rose, murmuring. Some avoided his eyes. Others squeezed his shoulder briefly on the way out. Within minutes, the grand room was almost empty. Only a few people remained. 2 board members, the family lawyer, Chioma, huddled near the wall, and the 3 of them, Daniel, Zara, Amara. He sank into a chair, suddenly looking much older. "I failed all of you," he said quietly. 16 years ago, and again, every day I never questioned the unease in my spirit. Zara's voice was barely a whisper.
"Daddy," she said, "am I still your daughter?"
He looked at her, and something breaking openly in his eyes for the first time. "You are the child I raised," he said. "I carried you. I paid your school fees. I watched you grow. Blood or no blood, you are my daughter as far as my heart is concerned." Tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. "But legally—" "In truth," she choked, her gaze drifted to Amara. "She might be the real heiress." The word hung heavy and sharp. Daniel turned slowly to Amara. "What do you want?" he asked gently. She blinked, dazed. "Sir?" "If it is true," he said, "if you are my blood, what do you want from me?" Her answer came out in a broken whisper. I don't know." For 16 years, all she had wanted was enough food, a place to lay her head, a little kindness. She had never dared to want more. And now this man was asking what she wanted from a life that might have been hers from the beginning. Tears blurred her vision. "I want," her voice shook, "I want my parents back." Silence. "And since nobody can give me that," she continued, taking a shaky breath, I want to stop being treated like I'm nothing." Her shoulders shook. "I don't want to be a slave in a house that might be mine." The word slave cut through Daniel like a knife. He stood suddenly. "You will never be a slave in my house again," he said firmly. "From this moment." His gaze swept the room, as if addressing not just the people there, but the walls, the floor, the very history of the building. "Until we confirm everything properly," he said, "no decision will be made about inheritance or titles. But one thing is decided." He looked straight at Amara. "You are not a maid anymore," he said. "You will not wash another plate here. You will not sleep in that back room. From tonight, you are under my protection, whatever the blood says." Amara's legs buckled. Chioma rushed forward to steady her, tears streaming down her own face. Zara stepped closer too, wiping her eyes. "And me?" she whispered. "What happens to me now?" Daniel looked at her, then at Amara, then back at her. "You," he said softly, "are still my child. This house is still your home if you want it. But we must walk through this truth together." The family lawyer cleared his throat nervously. "Legally," he said, "we'll need a court-admissible test, hospital records, statements. This will take time." "I know," Daniel said, his jaw set. "But however long it takes, I will not hide. Not again." He turned to Amara. "Or I will pay for a proper education for you," he said. "Starting now, and a full investigation into what happened at that hospital. If what we suspect is true," he exhaled slowly, "then the world will know." The words settled over them, a promise, heavy and dangerous. Zara looked at Amara through fresh tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "For what?" Amara asked hoarsely. "For all the times I walked past you like you were just Staff, Zara said. For eating at that table while you were standing by the wall. For wearing clothes that maybe were meant for you. Amara shook her head. It's not your fault, she said. You didn't know. Now I do, Zara replied. She hesitated, then held out a trembling hand. Whatever the tests say, she said, we're both victims of what they did. So, maybe we can be more than enemies. Amara stared at the hand. I hesitated. Then slowly she placed her own in it. Their fingers interlocked, two girls standing amid the wreckage of a life carefully curated by adults. Not enemies, not yet sisters, something in between, something new. Somewhere beyond the chandelier, the night pressed closer against the glass, waiting. The test had exposed the first layer of truth. But there were still hospital files to retrieve, nurses to find, a grandmother's memory to dig up, a mother's crimes to confront in court. Justice had woken up. It had not yet arrived. The Okafor mansion, once a fortress of polished lies, now stood like a stage with its curtains torn down. And in the center of it all, one girl who had scrubbed floors and slept on a thin mattress raised her head for the first time, not as a maid, not as a slave, but as someone the world might soon call the real heiress. And somewhere, in a quiet hotel room, where she had run to lick her wounds, Tonya stared at her reflection in the mirror, rage and fear swirling in her eyes. If I go down, she whispered to herself, gripping the table edge, I'm not going alone. The story of blood, betrayal, and stolen futures was only just beginning.